Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing Batman Rebirth Volume 4, War of the Joke and Riddles. Now, I know I'm jumping a volume in my Rebirth review process, mainly because I don't have Volume 3 yet collected in trade. Of course, I already read in individual issues, but I still need to pick up the trade, which is currently on back order for me. However, I saw this, and I just said I need to get it, because War of the Joke and Riddles is one of the most important Batman stories to come out of Rebirth, whether it's good or it's bad. But it plays a significant role in the future of the Dark Knight. Long and short of the story is, and spoilers ahead for the beginning and the end, so if you don't want to know spoilers, just hop to the end of the video. Long and short of it is that Batman has proposed to Catwoman. He's actually knelt down, pulled out the ring, and asked the big question. And he said to Catwoman, before you answer this question, you have to listen to a story, and you have to hear about my darkest secret that no one, not the Robins, not the Justice League, not even Alfred know about. And thus he tells the story of the War in Jokes and Riddles, which Catwoman was part of, but she was kind of a neutral party. The long and short of it is that Riddler and Joker, during the second year of Batman's career, shortly after the 0 year, have a war against each other. A big bombastic war that involves many of Batman's rogue galleries and some of his kind of pseudo-rogue galleries. I mean, Deathstroke and Deadshot are in it, and Solomon Grundy, who kind of default to Batman rogues because they've been used before, but really they're not. I mean, you can take it for what it's worth. But Joker and Riddler recruit individuals, villains, rogues, to their team, and they basically cause this massive war, which is terrible to say the least, because so many lives, so much collateral damage is caused by it. It's almost worse than the 0 year. Honestly, I think the amount of lives that were lost in this was probably worse than the 0 year. And Batman has to basically be in between the two of them, trying to save as many lives as he can, while at the same time trying the best he can to stop the Riddler and Joker. And if anything this story does is that it does a good job at showing the power and dangerousness of the Riddler and the Joker. Joker, we always know, was dangerous, but this kind of elevates Riddler a little bit more. And I'll go into that a little bit more in the good and the bad and whether or not you should get it. And without going into too much detail, Batman eventually tells Catwoman about the deep, dark secret that has defined him as the Dark Knight for so long, and how he's not as noble as everyone thinks he is. And Catwoman ultimately gives him his answer. So, with that said, let's talk about the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Teeny bit of spoilers, but stuff that if you follow comic books you should already know. Let's get into it. First and foremost, I think the bookends of this story is really good. The beginning of the story and the ending of the story are really good, and it does a good job as elevating a lot of characters. In particular, it does a very good job at defining Catwoman and Batman's relationship. Now, you gotta remember, Batman had just proposed to Catwoman, and this is something Batman's really never done in continuity. There's been side stories like Kevin Smith's story with Silver St. Cloud, where he's proposed to her, or Earth 2, where Catwoman and Batman were together beforehand, or in the Golden Age, where he was actually engaged from the very beginning. But, when it comes down to in continuity, Batman's never really actually proposed to anyone. That was taken seriously. This was taken seriously, and the answer that Catwoman gives, spoiler alert, she says yes, it's a fantastic answer, because what it basically does is it shows their relationship. She says, listen, it sucks that happened to you, and it sucks that you were part of it, but at the end of the day, we are who we are. The good and the bad make us who we are. I'm not a saint either. We're not perfect people, and we're kind of broken. And that's why we work, is because we understand each other. And please, propose to me again. But this time, poor boy, don't demand it. Ask me. And it's just a fantastic monologue. And I'm not really doing it justice, nor do I want to, because I don't want to take that away. It is a minor spoiler, but I mean, we all knew what her answer was going to be, because, well, it's been, I don't know how many issues since. And anyone that follows comic books probably already know this. But like I said, this does a very good job at elevating characters. Kite Man makes an appearance, and when did Kite Man become cool? He does in this. Catwoman and Batman's characters are really developed very nicely in this. Riddler, this does a better job at defining the Riddler as a villain and as a major threat villain than I think Zero Year did. Because that was one of the hiccups I had with Zero Year, is that it didn't really, I mean, Riddler was this big bad guy, but it didn't really do enough for me to define him as a superpower Batman villain. This really shows how dark and edgy and cutthroat Riddler can be. And the art is absolutely gorgeous in this comic. It pops. It does a beautiful job at conveying the tone of the story. So kudos on that. Bad. So there is a couple of bads in this. Number one is that when you go into the War of the Joke and Riddles, or at least how I did when it first came out in issues, is I thought it was going to be all about this big bombastic war. And it's not about the war. Very little is told about the war. I mean, there's a few battles here and there that they talk about and some casualties, but a lot of it's skipped over. Because it's not about the war, it's about the characters in the place. It's about the Joker, it's about Riddler, it's about Catwoman, and about Batman. It's about these major characters who are affected by the war. And not just that, but by how everyone's affected by the war. And it's about that dark secret of Batman who redefines his relationship with Catwoman. And it actually solidifies their relationship even more, the fact that she can get past this dark secret. But that's the thing, that this is a little deceitful in what the book is about. It's not about the War of the Joke and Riddles. I think it would have been better if this had a title kind of like The Dark Knight's Dark Secret, where it was doing character study on these characters, and the war was just a background thing. But because it's called The War of the Joke and Riddles, it's easy to misconstrue this as being about the overarching story. It's not. It's about the character development. Now, in saying that, that doesn't take away from what the book is, because the book is still... It does a good job at what it's aiming to do. I think just from the perception of the reader, you're expecting one thing and you're blindsided by something else. Number two, bit of a spoiler. So if you don't want to hear Batman's Dark Secret, skip a minute or so in the future. Okay? Spoiler, Batman's dark secret is that he contemplates and attempts to kill Joker. Joker causes all this trouble and chaos just to make... Riddler, sorry. He contemplates to kill the Riddler, and it's because Riddler has caused so much death and so much mayhem that he thinks, oh, Riddler just should die. And he goes to kill him, and Joker stops Batman. And it's Joker that keeps Batman from killing. And for me, Batman's one golden rule he should never break is kill someone. It defines the character. It makes him who he is. No writer should ever take that away from Batman. Ever. And it's fine that they're using that as kind of a story point, and I get it, Batman's younger and he's a little bit more naive in this story, but it's not that huge of a shocking dark secret. This happened before. Example, Hush. Because in this, he says, I was in control of my actions. I knew what I was doing. I wasn't angry. It wasn't me lashing out. I knew exactly what I was going to do, and I knew the consequences. Well, in Hush, he knew the consequences, too. He's a little ticked off, and so was he in this story, and took Jim Gordon basically, saying, I'm going to shoot you to get him off from killing the Joker. So, I'm not that overwhelmed by the secret. I thought the secret was going to be, basically, I allied myself with the Riddler, and to save lives, I unfortunately allowed lives to be lost, or something like that. Listen, I'm not the writer, so, hey. But I was a little underwhelmed by Batman's Dark Secret, and I don't need dark secrets from characters in their past. It's not a big selling point for me, so maybe I just wasn't committed to it in general. But that's neither here nor there. I thought that the overall pacing in the middle could have been a little bit better. Again, that's just me, but I think the pacing could have been better. The great strong start, great strong finish, the middle could have been a little bit better. Few minor continuity hiccups. New 52 is in continuity with Batman. We know this, and with DC in general, with the exception of Superman being minorly changed. But New 52 is still in continuity. So, few minor things, and this is cosmetically, bothers me. Like, the costumes are never quite right. Like, if you look at, and let me see if I can pull it up. Take Deathstroke's costume. Deathstroke's costume looks so much like his New 52 costume, which makes sense because that's what he would probably be wearing at this time, but not quite. Same thing with Batman. Batman's costume looks like his New 52 costume, but it's missing the gauntlets and the lines, and his belt is black. I'm trying to get a good picture of it, but I don't seem to have it on hand. Right here. So you can tell that the costume doesn't look quite New 52. And if we go by how things are staged with the timeline for Batman, he has his 0-year costume, then he goes to New 52, and then he goes to Rebirth. So the New 52 costume he wears from year 1 all the way up until present day. So I don't know what the artist was going for. It would have been nice to have a little bit more of a continuity, continuation there, and making sure everything lined up. Because if you look at Poison Ivy, and I'll see if I can find a picture of Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy's costume is the New 52 costume, as well as some other characters. So could have been a little bit better on that. Minor continuity hiccups. Although they reintroduced Catwoman's purple costume, which was pretty cool. So I got to give props on that. On a whole, whether or not you should get it. It's not the #1 best story that Tom King has put out, but it's still a really great story. I thoroughly enjoyed War of the Joker and Riddles. Once you understand what the story is, and it's not about the war but about the characters, you can enjoy it a lot more. The only major gripe I had with it was the fact that, well, it was a little underwhelming in The Dark Secret, but the ending with Catwoman saying yes to the proposal was fantastic, and the elevation for some characters, particularly the Riddler, was much, much obliged. And maybe I'm being a little biased here because everyone knows that I want Batman to have that happy ending with a significant other. I believe in marriage. I'm a hopeless romantic, and I want my favorite character to have that. But putting my biasness aside, it's fantastic storytelling and fantastic character development for these two characters, and it only strengthens these characters individually and together. So, do I recommend getting this? To quote Kite Man, hell yeah. Batman War of the Joke and Riddles is definitely a solid read and something you should pick up. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be important to the Batman mythos and important to the overarching Tom King story. This is Andrew saying, peace out for now.